Hello everyone, a very good morning. Today I'm Shreya. I'm here with Kashish on behalf of NOSIS to have a conversation with Dr. Karunakar, who has recently launched a successful book towards winning.
So we'd like to thank you for giving us this opportunity, and we would like to congratulate you on your latest success. Sir, we would like to
Thank you very much. The pleasure is mine.
Sir, we just want to say towards winning, it's such a great book. It actually not only takes us to step-by-step process how to become a leader, but it also you have given very real-life scenarios so that we can connect all the dots and we get a perfect picture. So can you talk more about the book? And can you give us more?
Sure. Over the last 16 years, I've been into education and training, and I've done several training programs for people in the corporate at various levels, senior levels, middle levels, junior levels. I also had the opportunity to train the medical community, the doctors, the para-assistants, and of course, I've been teaching the students. So, a lot of my work was on leadership development. I also teach subjects on strategy. So the thought was there to write this book. And when you do trainings, you do the trainings because you've read several subjects on this particular topic. Also, in the process of interacting with the participants, you do learn a lot from the participants, from their personal experiences. And that kind of ignited the inspiration in me to write this book. Actually, I wanted to write it in 2008, but I think everything has got a time and place. It didn't happen. Maybe I didn't have the time, or I was not sufficiently inspired enough to write at that time. It was only in 2014 while I was working as the director of NMIMS, and also I was going through the leadership challenge of leading this particular institute, that I got the motivation to pen my thoughts down. But to give the whole essence of the book is for leadership development to take place. First, one must be ready to face the challenges. Next, you should be willing and determined to embrace and accept the challenge fully. So, I think that comes out of attitude. So, first is facing the challenge. Second is accepting the challenge, having the willingness. Now, will these two pieces be enough to bring out the complete development in you? I would say these two are only necessary conditions. You need one more requirement, and that requirement is you need support from the organization wherever you're working. If there is a mentor, if there is a boss who is a very good guide, or the organization provides a lot of training, these will go a long way in bringing out the best from you. So when I'm talking about a person wanting to make a transition to leadership, it means primarily enhancing the management skills for high performance impact. And this book provides that framework. Okay? So I simply call it as the CWS framework in my chapter 1, where C stands for challenge, W stands for willingness, S stands for the support. That's when the leadership development happens. And to make that happen, I talk about the 6 steps. And these 6 steps are, step 1 is inner winner, step 2 is outer winner, step 3 is problem solving, step 4 is regenerating yourself, where I provide attention to goal setting, motivating the team, and practicing the situational leadership style. The fifth step, the focus is on coaching. And the last and the sixth step is about what is the kind of a mental model you can keep at the back of your mind when you're leading an organization. Okay? So basically, to summarize, I think this book about leading self, leading others, and leading the organization. So this isn't just is the book. It's a book on management and leadership. And I've written it in a half fiction format. So there is this character called Dave. Any of you can relate to that character, Dave. So he is at the brink of a very promising career, and I describe his professional journey and the challenges that he faces and how he goes about taking decisions at different stages. What are the kind of management tools and the processes that he adopts to overcome the obstacles and make a difference to the organization where he works, make a difference to the communities around, and of course make a big difference to himself and his family. So that's what the whole book is about.
So, sir, you were saying that before being a founder director of NMRMS, you were thinking of penning down the book. So, what was the initial instance when you decided that yes, I need to write a book and I need to guide my students? And we would like to know what was the igniting fire that you had that gave you the thought of writing the book?
Yeah. So at that time, I was heading the learning and development. This is with Dr. Reddy Laboratories Limited. So I was responsible for the learning and development of all the employees. I was responsible for the leadership development of people at the middle level. So while I was doing these trainings, I was just thinking, why don't I articulate it and write it? Because when you write something, I think it will remain forever. Provided, of course, people read the book and embrace the book. You leave a legacy, you make a contribution. So this thought actually, it came in 2008. And maybe that was also the time when I was just finishing my PhD. I was pursuing my PhD. I enrolled for my PhD in 2003. I finished in 2008. That arduous work of the PhD was over. The arduous work of being responsible for developing leadership at Dr. Reddy's was anyhow there. But then I now had the time and space to think what next to do after PhD. That's where the thought came, maybe I should write these things down. And that conviction was there because when I did the trainings, it always led a wonderful impact on the participants. Of course, no one told me to write a book. This thought just came along. And I was inspired by reading some of the works of Stephen Covey, the person who has written The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Then there is this Dr. Spencer Johnson who had written 1 Minute Manager. These books provided the inspiration for me to write. Okay. So there was another book, The Goal. It's written by Eliyahu Goldratt. It's actually a book on project management. It's a book on management processes, on optimization of resources. Now these subjects are pretty technical, but what made that book wonderful to read was that it was written in a story form. So that gave me the inspiration. Why don't I write something like this in a story form? Because people get hooked onto a story. If it is too technical, then your audience will be very limited. But when there is a story, then it becomes more broad-based, mass-based. I hope
Very
responded to your
very
question.
good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sir, as you said, we all relate to Dave. When we read the book, we did. How well do you resonate with the protagonist Dave?
Yeah. So I resonate with Dave substantially. Uh, as I said, this book has got 8 chapters, and I talked about these 6 steps of inner winner, outer winner, problem solving, etc. At the end of each chapter are provided action tips. Now, these are action tips which I rigorously follow. And I know in the process of rigorously following these action steps, it has made a difference to the place where I work. It has made a difference to the people around me. It has made a difference to myself. So I had this deep conviction that these things work. So, but as I said, I substantially resonate with Dave, but so also other people will resonate with Dave. Dave, I think, is there in every one of us. We all have our challenges in life. We all have our hopes and fears. So, in the professional journey of Dave, he expresses his hopes and fears and how he overcomes those anxieties and develops that courage and the focus to pursue things with a determined willpower to make things happen. And all of us, we need inspiration to do great things. I can take inspiration from anywhere. I can take inspiration from you. I can take inspiration by reading a book. I can take inspiration by seeing a film. And I think it is these inspirations which will ignite you to define a challenging goal, a stretch goal, and calibrating it and working towards it. Yeah. So that in short is my answer. Yeah.
So, talking about inspirations, sir, what is your personal favorite? Who's your personal favorite author or movie all the time, like which inspired you?
Yeah.
You're more curious to know about your which movie inspired you a lot, or which book inspired you?
Yeah. So around the time when I just finished my MBA, I was probably your age, I guess. There are 2 books which had a very big impact on me. One was a book which I already mentioned, The 1 Minute Manager. It is written by Dr. Spencer Johnson. In fact, I will strongly recommend all of you to read that book. It's a small little book written in a story form. Possibly you can just download it freely from Google and read it.
It is also available in the library.
It's also available in the library. Yeah. So the way he wrote the book simply in the form of a story, and the 3 simple principles which he elucidated: 1 minute goal setting, 1 minute praise, 1 minute reprimand, had a big impact on me, and I always practiced it. The second book, which is an all-time inspiration, and I continue to read it now and then, is a book called Jonathan Livingston Seagull. It is written by Richard Bach. It is the story of a seagull which is not like the other seagulls in the herd. Jonathan is different. Jonathan is different because he's so enthusiastic and eager to stretch himself and excel in the art of flying. So please do read that book. Jonathan wants to fly at the speed of sound. So how Jonathan goes about doing it. And later on, once he peaks in that particular school, it goes to another school where there are other seagulls which are just like Jonathan, and they again set a higher bar to take flight to a different level of excellence. And in the last part of the book, having achieved excellence in the art of flying, Jonathan now feels, now the time has come for me to come back and teach the others in my flock. So that's the story. Very inspiring story. I think it is such a story which will be relevant even after 100 years. I see a Jonathan in all the great spiritual gurus who have come over a period of time, whether it's a Buddha or a Jesus Christ or anyone. So Jonathan Livingston Seagull. It's all about pursuit of excellence and having mastered it, teaching and sharing the same to others. So these are the two books which have really inspired me. There are several other books, but I think I'll stop here.
Sir, are there any movies that your personal favorite or inspiration?
Yeah, so my book lists about 30 good books to read and 30 great movies to see. So let me pick two movies. One is this movie Gandhi, which got released in the year 1983. It is written by it is produced and directed by Richard Attenborough. I would like you to see that film of Gandhi. It's a fantastic movie, and you can just learn a lot by watching Gandhi. What made Gandhi Mahatma Gandhi? What are the travails he went through? What are the turbulent times he went through? That singular incident when he's thrown out of the train was the one which made a big difference to his life. So when he got thrown out of the first class compartment, he started reflecting what he can do about it. How can he remove the inequality which was prevailing in South Africa? And then he took up the cause, and his entire life was dedicated to removing these inequalities. So he successfully could do that in South Africa, and that's where he invented this Satyagraha, the non-violent struggle, in 1906. And having succeeded there, he then comes back to India in 1914, and he uses those same methods to bring freedom to India. It's a kind of film which you should see again and again to learn how to be proactive like Gandhi, how to develop that winner's mindset. My book is about towards winning. So how do you develop that winner's mindset of Mahatma Gandhi is one book I would certainly would request you to see that movie. One of the recent films which I really enjoyed seeing was this movie called Gravity. Have you seen Gravity?
Yes.
Oh, you must see. It is, go to the YouTube, it is there. Okay? So, Sandra Bullock, she is the heroine, and George Clooney is the hero. So these are two space astronauts, and a catastrophe takes place. And it's a 1.5 hours film as to how Sandra Bullock gets back to Earth against all odds. So why I'm recommending you to see this film is, these are films where it is the strength of the spirit over the mind and matter. So please do see that film. There are many more such films I can keep recommending. There's another movie, Castaway. I don't know whether you've seen Castaway. Tom Hanks is the hero of that film. I think it got released somewhere in 2000. But I saw the film actually much later. It's about the story of FedEx employee. I think it's a real life story where this plane crashed in the Pacific Ocean, and he's the only survivor, and he gets drifted to an island, and he's on the island. A lot of rescue efforts are made to spot whether there are any survivors. So it is the story of this gentleman who got marooned on that island and who kept hoping that maybe in the next 3 days somebody will come and save him. Either a ship will come or a plane will come. Nothing happens. 7 days goes by, nothing happens. 14 days go by, nothing happens. 1 month goes by, nothing happens. Then the thought comes to him, he has to learn to survive by himself. So it is the story of his survival and how he ultimately gets out of that island, because he knows if he keeps staying on this island, nobody will come and save him. Ultimately, he has to die there. And he builds a raft and he tries to leave the island. But then the waves are so big, the waves, they crash the raft. And he makes a second attempt, and in the third attempt, he builds a much stronger raft and is able to leave the island. And ultimately, he is found by a ship. This is a real life story. He is ultimately rescued by a ship, and he gets back to the normal life. So these are all great stories here. It's all about how the spirit prevails over the mind and matter.
Great movie recommendations. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. In fact, all the 30 movies which I've recommended are all great movies to see. You know, so see it as a part of your personality development, right? As much as understanding the essence of this book towards winning, I would strongly recommend that you read those 30 books and you also watch those 30 movies. So let's assume if you read one book and see one movie in a month, in 30 months, 2 years' time, I think you're going to spend 2 years in an MBA. In 2 years' time, I think your personality will blossom to a different level of it.
So, apart from writing this book, we are eager to know when you are writing your next book.
So when is your D-Day? When are you launching?
So at this point of time, I really don't know. I think what I would like to do is, whatever are the contents of this book towards wedding, I think I would like to spread the theme and the message of this book to as many youngsters as possible. This book is really meant for young professionals like you, not just MBA. It can be young doctors, it can be young engineers. It is also helpful for people who are middle-aged and who are in the middle levels of management. It can also be helpful for seasoned players who are looking for their next breakthrough. Okay. So I think my focus right now is to spread the message and the content of this book and the framework as much as possible. I will surely write another book. This is my second book, by the way. My first book was Corporate Champions, Excellent Companies of India, and that was more for a professional audience. This, I would say, is for everyone. So the third book, which I will surely write, I don't know when. Maybe it may take another 3 years or 5 years. Again, I think I would like to model it along the lines of Towards Winning, where it is very practical, very useful, easy to understand. What could be the theme? Maybe I'll take off from my last 2 chapters, which is about leadership. There's a lot I can talk about leadership and write about leadership. And strategy goes integral with leadership. Maybe I'll combine these two elements of leadership and strategy and come out with a book. I don't know when. 3 years later, 5 years later, I don't know when.
Yes,
Yeah.
we will love to wait.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time and also providing very valuable insights. And yeah, I believe all the audience will be ready to watch all the 30 great movies and to put in some more books, 30 more books. Thank you, sir, for your time.
I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts and taking it to the others. So thank you very much. Thank you, Shreya. Thank you, Kashish. Thank you, Harshan. Thank you, Ruchi. And thank you, Abhi. Thanks a lot. God bless all of you. Okay? Thank you.